I'm Mike Sugarman.
And I'm Janice Wright, Sugarman.
And this is I'm Still Rolling. Okay, I'm still rolling, and you're looking at the two of us, and you're going, who are these people?
Why should I listen to these people?
Why should I listen to these people?
Well, we have some experience in radio and TV.
You have been the anchor of the big all-news radio stations in San Francisco and in New York.
And you have, I think, at last count when I dusted them. No, I don't dust them. Are you kidding? Your Emmys. You had about 17 for television.
I've got 17.
And you're also a radio guy.
I worked in radio for a long time, too.
Okay. And what's a podcast? But as you always say, we've been doing podcasts for 40 years.
Yeah, it's just a radio story.
It's a radio story, but we digress. Okay. So that's partially why we're qualified for this.
The reason we're qualified to talk about disabilities is that I'm a paraplegic. It happened 4 years ago. 2/22/22.
Lucky numbers.
Not for me.
Not.
I had an operation on my aorta. It was bulging. It was a dangerous operation, but I came through it. They fixed that. But 2 days later in the ICU, I couldn't feel my feet, and I couldn't feel my legs, and then I couldn't feel anything up to my breastplate.
Bra line.
Bra line. I can move. It's funny. I can feel the inside because it hurts, but I can't feel the outside.
Right. You can complain when you're hungry and when your tummy hurts.
Right. Well, and my back is killing me all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, and you, my friend, are my caregiver.
Ooh, okay. I'm your wife.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of uncomfortable with the term caregiver. Why I needed a new title after 40 years, I don't know. Because isn't it kind of a deal when you're with somebody for a long time as a partner, that when something bad happens to them, you help them. When something good happens, you celebrate. So I just like to think of myself as your wife. I don't need another title.
All right. For better or for worse?
For better or for worse.
You've had better and you're having worse. Huh?
Yeah. Well,
we bring that up because today's topic is caregiving. And there are, when I looked up, 63 million caregivers in the United States. There's 1 million in New York.
And probably more because, there's so many people who just take care of their loved ones or their friends.
Well, that counts paid.
They don't get counted. They don't get paid.
It counts paid or unpaid.
Okay.
And we could have talked to 1 million people, but I have a friend from high school. His name is Richard Beale. He's gone through a lot in his life, and he and Janice actually had a great conversation.
I did. We had a lot. The issues are different, but we had a lot in common about how we approached caregiving.
Here's our conversation. Richard Beale, it's good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to both of you.
And Thank Richard, you. It's good to meet you because Mike talks about his dear old friends all the time, and you're among them.
Yes. Well, this is a complete honor to be here, so thank you.
Tell us about your situation with your wife.
Okay. My incredible wife, Taylor, has Alzheimer's, a very young onset Alzheimer's. She's 62. She's been in a state of cognitive decline for 12 years. She was diagnosed with something called mild cognitive impairment about 10 years ago. And mild cognitive impairment sounds pretty benign, but it typically leads to dementia in about 5 years. And it did. So she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it progresses. It's a progressive disease. It's a fatal disease. It's completely heartbreaking. It's really taken her mind and in slow motion. So where we are now is she is no longer verbally communicative. Um, there's very little she can do without help, including eating. Um, she has she has an incredible spirit. She's very loving, and I'm extremely fortunate for that because a lot of times people can become fairly abusive. Um, she lives at home. Um, my intention is to keep her here for the rest of her life, for her to be here, and I feel really fortunate that I can. I do have caregivers that come in, but I'm here. I work from home, um, and I get to be with her. So,
You know, Mike had a spinal cord stroke 4 years ago, and lots of things he can't do, and the word intimacy has come up with other people I know in this kind of situation. People look at inner-abled relationships and say, "Oh, how can you be romantic?" Well, it's still very intimate in some even more powerful ways than before, right?
a professional was remarking on how when she stops knowing who I am and when she stops communicating verbally, that's the hardest. And I think I'm coming to realize that talking may be overrated. Um, there's there can be a really deep form of communication without it. So everything kind of goes to sort of the basics, the real basics of like the moment of just being together. And there are little things like if she'll take my hand and just hold it or my finger like that, then that feels beyond romantic, beyond, it just feels, there's so much love to that. So,
You know, I feel bad when Janice has to do all this stuff for me. I want to do as much as I can, but you've told me, and other people have told me that you like doing that stuff. I mean, it is that the same with you? I mean,
well, first of all, I think it's really great to hear, your thoughts about all of this because I was realizing as I was getting ready to do this that Taylor's like she's the care receiver, but she can't talk about the issues that come up, and so it's really nice to be able to share that with care getter. That's not a very good term either, but from both ends. I tend to feel guilty if I haven't done enough. I tend to feel bad if I lose my temper, any of those kind of things. I feel like it's an incredible privilege to get to do this. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's completely heartbreaking. It's so painful. Um, but there's the silver linings are there. There's also an incredible amount of joy in doing it.
Um, I've often thought, Richard, sometimes, how that this has been kind of a gift for me. It's made me realize I have strengths I didn't know I had. And yeah, and then I feel bad because it's not a gift for Mike, but but I feel like I do feel like it's just sort of an opportunity for me that to find new things. Right? I see you smiling. I see you get it.
Well, I love
You
that
get it.
word opportunity because it is. Last year I was out of my house for 7 months because of the fires. I went on a bicycle ride and broke my hip, and I'm lying there completely helpless. Like no sense of control, um, or being able to do very little. But I got to be there. And I realized that all of these things are opportunities. I went to dinner with some very old friends several years ago. Like it was very interesting because they were somewhat depressed. Everything there was nothing going wrong in their lives, but there wasn't anything lively. There wasn't anything to any like juice, in their lives. And I remember when I left, I was looking up at the trees and the moon and the sky, and just seeing how incredibly beautiful it was. And I realized if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, if I didn't have this opportunity, I'd probably be thinking about minutia, some bills or something like that. And instead, I got to dig into some real meaning.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you because I have found that I have to stop myself from trivializing
I
other
know.
people's problems because I feel the same way. I feel like I'm really different than you are now. Says some of my friends. I'm real different. I know, and I know that. And it's been interesting how some of my friends have reacted to this that I thought would react better, I would say. I mean, there are people who are over sympathetic, who are over, overdo it with that and make you feel worse, you know. But we are speaking the same language. I feel that I look at the trees. I look at I, and but I do have to be careful of not dismissing what other people perceive as problems, in their
Yes.
lives.
No, and sometimes I feel bad for them because
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
can't see.
yes,
They're not
yes.
finding meaning. Do you know the Viktor Frankl book, Man's Quest for Meaning? I don't know if you do or not, he was a psychotherapist. He was in a concentration camp, and he came to realize that the people that survived were the ones that could find meaning in the face of the most extreme suffering. And there's certainly suffering in this, but a lot of suffering comes from striving for something else, something different, and allowing for the circumstances. There can be real beauty in it.
Well, and also in our age range, there are retired
Yeah,
people who are desperately looking for meaning in
yeah,
activities, in hobbies,
yeah.
we don't have to look. We don't have to look for meaning.
No, I mean it raises an issue for me, which is if I outlive her, where will I find meaning? Because this is so powerful.
Mike, we're dominating the conversation, Richard. And
No,
then would
that's
you like
okay.
to? He
Well,
wants to hear more on your side, from your
uh,
side.
well, again, I just want to do as much as I can to make life easier for you.
Uh,
But I also have to realize, and it's hard for me to understand that you don't mind doing it
hmm hmm
because I'm not sure how I'd react in that situation.
Yeah,
Mm.
you
I
keep saying you couldn't do this, but I think you could. But
I don't know if the situation was
or,
reversed. You're much better at it than I can even imagine,
but
and I'm sure Taylor would be taking care of you just the same. But I don't know. You might feel just like I
Well,
do.
I never thought I could do this. I never thought of myself as a caregiver in any
me neither.
way.
Oh, me neither. I was the opposite of a caregiver. Yeah.
I mean, I ran from pain. I was taught as a kid to avoid it, to avoid grief. I didn't go to funerals as a kid. I was shielded from all of that. Life was about pursuing pleasure, I think. And when this first came up, what was kind of interesting because my first wife passed away suddenly 18 years ago. And I always thought if I only had one more day to catch up. This illness is extremely slow. I get to walk her home, is a way I like to look at it. But when it started, that's why we were talking about, whether or not you could do it, Mike. When this started with Taylor, and I would say ask her to hand me the phone, and she'd hand me a shoe. I would get I'd get angry. I was sleep deprived. I couldn't figure out what's going on. I didn't know how to channel my emotions. It was impossible. And one of the things that really changed it for me was realizing that this is a choice. This is a choice I've made. People would say to me, "Why do you stick around? Why don't you, put her someplace?" And um, this was a choice. I didn't want to do that. And if I'm going to make this choice, then I want to make the best of it. And it's not like I have to do any of these things. I want to.
Richard, you're talking about getting irritated and things. I I sometimes I just Mike gets the eye roll
Ah,
or something when he, asked me for something that he could have asked me for when I was before, and he didn't. Things anyway. And I try and tell him, I'm not. This is not about you. It's about the situation.
right.
It's never about you
That's right.
and what you
That's
need.
right.
It's just the
That's
situation,
right. It's nobody's
which would
fault.
probably be helpful. Which would probably be helpful to other married couples in their marriages if they stopped sometimes to see what was irritating them.
It seems so ludicrous to me now to be angry at Taylor for something that she had no control over at all. And then to ultimately realizing she's giving me a gift. She's giving me I learn from her every day. I get to be there. I get to, hold her and love her and yeah.
What do you do for you? You got to take time out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, um I bicycle ride quite a bit. I go on well, let's see, yesterday I went on a 70-mile ride um up in the hills and I get completely lost in that.
You don't get lost on the bike. You get lost in your head.
Lost in my head, yes. And I do it with other people. So there's a real sense of connection to that. So I think having a good support group, um, support is great. Do some support groups. I'm not sure how much I feel like that is really for me. Some of them just kind of go into kind of endless venting. I've taken up meditation, which has really helped a lot. There's a program, let's see, mindfulness for caregivers caring for people with dementia. So it was right up my alley. They provided so many tools I still do it, but tools for when things get really tough, when I feel like I'm going to lose it. I can't be doing all these things at once. Just simple tools like just looking around and seeing something I haven't seen before on my walk around the block that I've done every day for the last 8 years. Um, Curiosity, finding curiosity in the situation, what it's like for her, what's going on inside of her. This is somewhat different than for the two of you, because Taylor doesn't have that cognitive ability. So I'm trying to figure that out. You're there physically. Taylor still has some more physical abilities, um, but her mind is being robbed. She's in the present. I mean, there's no future. There's no past. There's no memories really, and there's no future. So for me, taking care of her is doing something for myself.
Well,
Richard, when Mike first set up this
Uh-huh.
idea of thinking it'd be good if we were talking to each other, I said, but the situations are really different. But but what I found, discovered through this, because of the kind of person you are, because of the kind of person I am, we're approaching it in very much the same way, which I think is a great thing to share with people who are going to deal with something like this in some form, especially as the baby boomers get
Yeah.
age, in some form or another. These are kind of basic coping mechanisms and attitudes that I think can be very helpful to a lot of people, even just no matter what the situation is with an illness or a disability. The tools that you've been talking about are
Well,
great.
this is an extremely important part of life. And if for you, for the generation, I think that I was born into, if you were taught to avoid unpleasant things, unpleasant feelings, then you've missed half of life. You've missed half of it. And I don't think that pain and joy are opposite sides of the coin. I think they're part of the same side. They go
They
together.
are. You can't have one
You
without the
can
other. You if you didn't have pain, you wouldn't know what joy
no,
felt like,
no,
and
yeah,
vice versa. You'd have no way to judge that. So you got
yeah.
to have them both. Yeah.
What is, how long do you think you have Taylor for?
That's a really good question. Somewhere between 2 days and 10 years. I have no idea. Well, also built into this is a sense of grief and going through grief, and anticipatory grief. I really don't know at all. Because the way that this illness ends often is some kind of infection that the body can't fight off, and it can show up anytime. So, or it might not show up again for a long time. I feel like if she wasn't at home, she there's a very good chance she wouldn't be here anymore. But she's in a safe place and she's loved. She doesn't have to be tied down, which literally is what they would do often if a person, has no balance and wants to move. And
My grief, our grief, I would say, has been for the life that we had before, which we had to let. The key is to let go of that as quickly as possible, to let go of that, trying to cling to that life you had, and then I lost the Mike that walks into a room. That grief. I mean, he's still here. Somebody said it's still Mike, just sitting, just sitting down.
Well, every day is a new day. You mentioned the past is gone, the future's not here yet, and all we have is the present. And you're living that, and I guess we're all living that.
Well, and another thing is, I can already tell from what you've said about Taylor, like Mike, she went into this with a good attitude about life. I've said to Mike, because I'm part of a group, it's called WAGS, Wives and Girlfriends of Spinal Cord Injuries. It's an international group. A lot of venting, like you said, in these groups. But one thing that comes
very
up
much.
over and over again, women will say, my husband is quadriplegic, my husband's paraplegic. He doesn't do anything, but order me around all day. He's got a terrible attitude. And for those who aren't dealing with this, the initial reaction might be, well, it's because he's quadriplegic. But in fact, he was kind of a jerk before this happened. You go into these things the same person you were, right? Another lesson for our listeners. You better get yourself ready for being in this position. Yeah. You don't change.
Well,
So
it's
we're
probably-
lucky. I mean, Mike is just like, I say to him, I couldn't do this without you, which seems weird, but I couldn't. I know I couldn't, but his attitude is just so great, which
Thank you.
it sounds like Taylor's
Yeah.
attitude was and still is when she's squeezing your finger.
I do
Good.
find that in various support groups that I go to, people are very angry at their spouses. And honestly, a lot of them can't wait until it's all over. And that's, I'm not going to judge anybody on any of this. And I get it because I'm fortunate that Taylor is still loving and she's not, she's not angry and she's not, you know, trying to harm me or anything like that.
Oh, he
So
is.
So I'm very fortunate to have that. But think that's also a choice too. And the choice really comes down to, do I want to suffer? Do I want to be a victim and suffer? Or do I want to get the rewards that can come from this?
I remember one day saying, during in this past 4 years, one day saying, I don't want to be the sad wife anymore. I'm done with that. I'm not the sad
Huh.
wife anymore. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be that person. Yeah.
Well, great gratitude. You know.
Well,
Yeah.
I think maybe this is up for debate, but caretakers go into the situation the same way they were before.
Oh, you're right. And then I'm different now. Is that what you're saying? No.
Well, no, you're going in.
I see what
You
you're
were a
saying.
loving, caring, you did stuff for me person before, and you'll do it now.
Oh, thank
If,
you.
if the other caretakers kind of weren't on their game,
Well, that's true.
And if you weren't in the most loving relationship, then it could be even more difficult. When things were okay, and now they're seeing themselves as having to take care of the other person.
In your case, Richard, you're also a reminder that people tend to think sometimes, oh, this terrible thing happened to me and now it's over and I got through it. Your first wife dying. And as if something else couldn't happen the next day to you. You know what I mean? It's like we have this strange attitude like, oh, okay, good, got through that, but that is not the way life works.
No, but also some good things can come out of it. And the good thing that came out of it was, when I lost my first wife, was that my heart was completely cracked open. I had nowhere to go with those feelings. I met Taylor, and I was able to love her in an even better way than in my first relationship. And when you love somebody that way, hopefully you get it back, and I did. So there were gifts. Those gifts. I was thinking of what you said, Mike, which has stayed with me to this day. When this first happened to you, and somehow I stumbled on a message on Facebook or something, and you said, "I'm learning new tricks every day," and I have to remind myself of that. There's new tricks every day, and I wouldn't learn these tricks if I wasn't going through this.
Right?
well, we've reached the half-hour point.
Half-hour
It went
point.
fast, but this was great. I'm going to turn.
Wait, I just want to say, I think a great way to end it is to amplify on what you said. We're all just walking each other home.
That's a great line.
We're all well. Our meditation teacher used to say that to us all the time. So I recognized it when you said it. We're all just walking each other home.
Yeah, it's a nice image, isn't it?
It
What
is.
more? What more could you ask for? What could be better than getting to walk each other home?
All right. Thank you, Richard Beale. Good friend and a good interview.
Really. Oh, and before we wrap this up,
Yeah.
just a little business. Remember to like us if you do, or leave a comment, good or bad, just something, and tell your friends about our podcast, or tell a person on the street, tell a stranger, because we really want to get a lot of these messages out as far and wide as we can, and help people be inspired, as we were just inspired by Richard.
When this happened to me, I knew I had to do something because this had to happen for a reason. So I'm trying to get as many people to hear and see these podcasts as possible. I think it does. It will help, and it certainly will inspire people.
It certainly has inspired us.
Okay. We done?
Okay,
All right.
let's sign off.
I'm Mike Sugarman.
And I'm Janice Wright, Sugarman. And remember, we're all just walking each other home.